Tonight on News 5 Live, an elderly waterfront worker is knocked down and killed by a fuel tank near the corners of Central American Boulevard and Cesar Ridge Road. In Hopkins, another traffic accident claims the life of a 47-year-old resident. 2 women are stabbed in a frightening home invasion, but the son of the house owner bravely fought off the robbers. 18-year-old Denver Bevins is arraigned for the Thursday night murder of fireman Giovanni Lennon, and Wasani Castro, the son of Minister Castro, is charged for assaulting a female cop. Opposition leader John Briceño says the government has failed to effectively act on the illegal settlement growing in Barrio El Juda in western Belize, and the Ministry of Health and the Embassy of Taiwan sign a $2 million project to improve medical imaging services in Belize. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
With over 100 years of service excellence in Belize, the Belize Bank
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Monday, November 18th. I am Charlie Hutchinson. Road traffic accidents are a major cause of deaths on the roads and highways across the country, so much so that the police department is now enforcing a number of initiatives to reduce the dreadful statistics. In tonight's newscast, we report on 2 deadly accidents. In Belize City, a waterfront worker perished in a horrible traffic accident this afternoon. He was riding his bicycle at the corner of Caesar Ridge Road when he was hit by a tanker. Russell Arnold died instantly on the street when he was crushed by the vehicle. His bicycle was left mangled at the busy scene of the accident. Here is News 5's Isani Cayetano with a report.
An elderly waterfront worker perished this afternoon when he was run over by a fuel tanker on Central American Boulevard at its intersection with Caesar Ridge Road. 71-year-old Russell Arnold was riding his bicycle in that vicinity and, upon turning left, was knocked down and crushed beneath the wheels of the vehicle. A friend of his, who asked not to appear on camera, laments the tragic loss of life.
It hurt me when I heard about this. I tell them, when they tell me truck just run over him, I tell them they lied because he just passed me. He just passed me. Just passed me.
How close are you to him as someone you worked with?
Well, we are good friends. We don't hang out and so together. Mostly we hang out at work spot and that's it. But he's a nice fella. He's a nice fella. You ask him to do anything for you, he'll do it. He's not a run man.
The location where the incident occurred is a busy junction where lines of container and flatbed trucks often traffic in and out of the port of Belize. Now, it seems as if though this intersection here between Caesar Ridge and Central American Boulevard is a very busy and trafficable one because of the port. Have you seen any other instance where this kind of threat or traffic incidents happen?
This is the first one I see here at this spot. But I know they truck man, they drive wrong this lane without think. Without think. And many a time me have to turn the lane along with them to make them not knock me down. Many a times. Because they not slow down, they just turn the curve.
In remembering Arnold, his colleague describes him as someone who was always willing to be sent on short errands for other stevedores at the port.
Russell Arnold is a good person. He's friendly. I worked with him over 30 years. So it hurt me when I heard about this. Only thing I could say, Mr. Arnold is a very good guy. He never refused to do nothing for nobody. Anybody here could send him out. Anybody. That's why he's rough and this stuff is hurt.
The identity of the driver and whether he has been served with a notice of intended prosecution has not been shared with the media. It is expected, nonetheless, that the motorist will face charges stemming from the unfortunate incident. Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
The second accident was in the south. A Hopkins resident was knocked down and killed by a drunk driver on Friday night. 40-year-old Stephen Olivas was riding his bike in the village when an American national in a vehicle hit him from behind. The driver of the vehicle, Mark Cairns, was slapped with several charges, including driving a vehicle with alcohol concentration above the prescribed limit. The fatal road traffic accident happened around 11:40 that night. ACP Joseph Mivett, has the details.
Hopkins police was called to an area on the main road just outside of Hopkins or south of Hopkins, where upon arrival they observed the motionless body of Stephen Oliva, 40 years of a Hopkins address, and a little further from the body the police observed a blue in color bicycle with extensive damage to the back wheel. What was reported to the police is that Mr. Olivas was southbound when he was knocked down from behind by a white Range Rover, at the time driven by one Mark Cairns, 57 years U.S. national. The scene was processed and the body was removed to the Southern Regional Hospital where it was pronounced dead. So far, police have since carried out an investigation and have since arrested and charged Mark Cairns for the crimes of manslaughter by negligence, causing death by careless conduct, driving with alcohol concentration above the prescribed limit. So far, at this point, those are the charges he have received in relation to that. We were also made to understand that he is not a resident of Hopkins, but was just visiting.
2 women were at home in Belize City when 3 intruders broke into their Rio Crescent house in Belize City. The ordeal on Friday afternoon has left them traumatized. The women were stabbed and injured, but their lives were saved due to the quick thinking and action of the son of the house owner. While he did not wish to appear on camera, he relayed the horrible incident of how he bravely fought back the intruders even though he was on crutches and the robbers were armed. News 5's Isani Cayetano reports.
On Friday afternoon, a trio of young men entered this home on Rio Grande Crescent with the sole objective of robbing its occupants at gunpoint. They almost got away with it until Elvia Carl's teenage son, who is on crutches following a motorcycle accident, came to the rescue. Earlier today, he shared with us the frightening details of a home invasion perpetrated by individuals in the neighborhood whom he knows fairly well.
When I was walking outside back of the bathroom, the 2 men were coming inside towards me with a gun. And I swung the pickaxe at them. I guess they got scared, and then they ran back and they bucked into each other. They fell, and I also fell because I couldn't walk. I had the pickaxe with me. I got up back and I swung back at them, and when I got up back, they fell right on the exit of my house, the front door. And when he fell, I swung at his feet. I don't know if I caught him or not, but they went away.
At that time, the third assailant was struggling with his mother and her worker, inflicting multiple stab wounds on both women.
And I still heard my mom and her worker shouting in the kitchen. And when they were shouting in the kitchen, I looked back and I noticed that the men, they left the gun, they dropped the gun, and I picked the gun up. I went towards the kitchen, and the guy, when I pointed the gun at him, he let go of my mom. And when he let go of my mom, I hopped towards him because only one of my foot is functional. And when I hopped towards him and I pointed the gun at him, he got scared and he pulled the rug completely off his face, and I noticed that I know the guy. He actually hangs at the Chinese shop.
According to Carl's son, he pulled the trigger twice to shoot his mom's attacker, but the firearm snapped. The remaining thief then used the opportunity to make good his escape.
On Friday, the 15th day of November 2019, there was an aggravated burglary at Rio Grande Crescent in Belize City. Police visited the residence where they found Elvia Carl and Maria Pinto with stab wounds. And found at the scene was a .22 revolver. Information was that 3 male persons entered the house armed with knives and a firearm and proceeded to rob the occupants. At some point inside the house, the son of one of the victims intervened and the gun fell on the floor. Thereafter, all 3 male persons fled from the area. Both victims were treated at the KHMH for stab wound injuries and they were later released. Investigation is ongoing to this matter and no one has been charged for this incident so far.
Carl's family has been living in fear since the incident on Friday. According to her son, they have been residing in that neighborhood, an offshoot of Fabers Road, for the past 2 years.
My whole family is scared. You can see the whole house is locked up. No one wants to come outside.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
This morning in the courtroom of Chief Magistrate Sharon Fraser, an 18-year-old fisherman of Belize City was arraigned for the murder of fireman Giovanni Lennon. Appearing before the lower court judge unrepresented, Denver Bevans, who alleges that the arresting officers fractured his mandible, was read 2 charges. He has been charged for the shooting death of the well-known firefighter, which occurred in Belize City last Thursday. Additionally, he was charged for assaulting police officer Briseño Chub.
Reference the murder of Giovanni Lennon. We have since arrested and charged Denver Bevans, 18 years, for the crime of murder. He was also additionally charged for the crime of aggravated assault against a police officer. This is after an investigation was done and several interviews and statements were recorded.
Are you able to say, sir, I'm not sure if it was disclosed during the last time, what led to Giovanni Lennon's murder? Why was he killed?
We do not have an exact motive at this time. The investigation revealed certain information, and based on that, this person was charged.
Do we know if these two men had a prior issue?
We do not know. No.
Bevins has been remanded at the Belize Central Prison until January 7, 2020. In court today, Wasani Castro, the son of the minister Edmund Castro, appeared before Chief Magistrate Sharon Fraser. The 26-year-old cyclist is facing charges for assaulting a female police officer. Wasani is no stranger to the law, and the most recent incident for which he is accused took place over the weekend. Senior Magistrate Fraser read 3 charges to Wasani for using obscene language, assaulting a female police officer, Emar Anderson, and resisting arrest. Castro took a not guilty plea and was granted bail in the sum of $600 plus 1 surety. Wasani is accused of assaulting Anderson on Cesar Ridge Road, where the officer was on duty on November 16th. Appearing on behalf of Wasani was attorney Orson O.J. Elrington. Wasani has been instructed to reappear in court on January 20, 2020. More than 2 years ago, Wasani and his brother Jafari were caught with 89 cases of contraband beer valued at $6,000 in June 2017. That case, however, was settled out of court with the Customs Department. And in the Supreme Court, David Zetina, who pleaded guilty to causing death by careless conduct, will be sentenced on December 13, 2019 by Justice Marilyn Williams. Zetina knocked down and killed 65-year-old Constance Andrewin on February 25, 2012 in Biscayne, Belize District. The woman was about to get to her house in the village when the incident occurred. Zetina was driving a F-150 pickup truck heading to Belize City when he hit Andrewin, who was riding her bicycle at mile 21 on the Philip Goldson Highway. Andrewin was transported to the Carl Huesner Memorial Hospital but did not make it and was pronounced dead on arrival. 37-year-old Belize City delivery man Issa Nunez is tonight recuperating after an attempt on his life was made on Saturday afternoon. Nunez was shot while inside a parked delivery truck on St. Thomas Street. 2 thieves approached Nunez demanding monies before firing the shots. Senior Superintendent Gilberto Romero told the press today that the culprits escaped with no money.
Investigation revealed that he was in a truck on St. Thomas Street when he was approached by 2 male persons who demanded money. There was some delay, and at some point one of the male persons fired a shot at the truck which caught the victim on the leg. He drove himself to the KHMH where he received treatment. Again, investigation is ongoing at this time to this matter, and nobody has been charged for this incident.
Coming up, the leader of the opposition says government is weak in solving the encroachment by Guatemalan families at Barrio El Juda in the west.
No tricks, no
More than 30 Guatemalan families remain not only on the western border but on Belizean territory. These families claim they settled there since the year 2000, illegally squatting on a parcel of land owned by Belizean businessman Jorge Espat. The residents there say they have documents for the properties and are adamant that the houses and fences they've erected fall on Guatemalan soil, but the Organization of American States has verified that the residents are within Belize. The government has chimed in, saying that it has worked with the OAS to take steps to address this matter. An official release states that multiple visits to the area have been made by government officials. It also notes that members of the Belize Defense Force, along with the Guatemalan Armed Forces, have informed the settlers that they illegally inhabit Belizean territory. But when the media visited the area last week, residents confirmed the official visits, but said they were never told that they had to move. Opposition leader John Briceño today weighed in on the matter, saying that the government has time and time again showed weakness in properly addressing this issue.
The government has been sleeping at the wheel because they should be alerted. They know that this constantly happens and they should be constantly policing that area so that as soon as they see any kind of activity, they could immediately stop.
The residents there, they say they've been there since 2000, and that's under PUP administration. Some would criticize that the PUP government did not do anything either.
That's not true. In 2000, we were constantly there. We moved some of these people away from the border. That is one. Secondly, I think then the Prime Minister should be ashamed to say that this is a constant problem. If it is a constant problem, then make sure that the BDF is constantly walking and patrolling that area. You patrol that area so that you can prevent anyone to try to move in this land. But obviously they're always asleep on the wheel. And then when it blows up on their face, then they try to do something. The government should have been more aggressive. They should have said with Mr. Espat, we are with you, we're going to stand with you, we're going to do everything possible to protect your property, because that property is in the territory of Belize and it belongs to Belizeans. It does not belong to Guatemala or the Guatemalans. Again, that's another show of weakness on the part of the government and the foreign ministry, and also a show of disrespect to a fellow citizen. Why is it that we have a government? A government is there to protect its land, to protect its territory, and to protect its citizens. And this government is failing every one of them.
The government later said that the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and OAS collaborated to take joint action against these settlers, and they said that they discontinued the illegal settling in that area. Clearly, we said differently.
But what's on the ground tells you something different, man. Again, they can't get their act together. One, they go left, the next one they go right. One, they say A, the next one they say B. They're constantly contradicting themselves. If the Ministry of National Security would have been constantly vigilant and constantly walking in that area, they would have known that what is happening.
In early 2004, the then PUP administration relocated some 30 families from the area after it was established that they had erected permanent structures in this side of the border. The persistent problem normally emerges after elections are held in Melchor de Mencos, and the mayor, in this case Amara Yanes, promised land to his voters. According to Prime Minister Dean Barrow, a report is presented at every meeting of the National Security Council. In fact, Barrow said that the Barrio El Juda is a continuing problem. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the support of the OAS Adjacency Zone Office, has taken several diplomatic steps towards the peaceful and expeditious removal of the settlers, asserts the PM. But opposition leader John Briceño is calling on the resignation of the Minister of National Security, John Saldivar.
The problem that we have in the Ministry of National Security is that the minister is more concerned about campaigning to be leader of the UDP, as opposed to looking after what he has been, the duties that he has been given to under the Constitution by the Prime Minister of Belize. That alone, I think the leader, the Minister of National Security, should resign just on that matter. It has happened under his watch.
Would you agree that it would take both governments, Guatemala and Belizean government, to remove these people But that's if Guatemala agrees that they're in Belizean territory.
Well, it probably will, but the thing is that it is within the adjacency line. It is in adjacency line. It is within the adjacency line, so they know that it is in their land. Again, it is important that we need to continue to work with the confidence-building measures, and that the OAS should be involved in every step of the way. That is why the OAS is there.
But they've determined already that these people are in Belizean territory. It's only for the governments now to act on it.
Well, that's why the government needs to continue to put pressure, and again with the OAS, and the OAS and to Guatemala, and we need to get them out, and we cannot allow them to stay. There are protocols on how this is managed. The government Belize have it, Guatemala have it. How is it that you're going to deal with these illegal settlers? Point is that it should have never happened. Point is that the Prime Minister has to be held accountable. The point is that the Minister of National Security is more concerned about campaigning to be leader of the UDP as opposed to looking after his job. He should resign.
It has been 6 months since Belize submitted its notification to the International Court of Justice to have Guatemala's unfounded claim permanently settled. The ICJ referendum was held on May 8th and the notification was submitted on June 7th. Belize's notification activated the procedure under the special agreement, and it is expected that Guatemala will now submit its claim no later than June 7th, 2020. Since the ICJ referendum months ago, we haven't heard much from the government, and there hasn't been much reported activity in the Sarstoon, which was an area of contention with the Guatemalan armed forces blocking Belizeans from traversing the area. But opposition leader John Briceño reminds Prime Minister Barrow of the Sarstoon Protocol and the provisional measures.
The government said that they were going to get a Sarstoon Protocol, and yet we hear nothing about what happened to the Sarstoon Protocol. They also said that they were going to get a provisional ruling with the ICJ, which is a quick thing that they could get, so that at least it could stop them with their aggression in the Sarstoon River. So what happened to both? It seems that we haven't gotten anything when it comes to the provisional ruling, or at least that the ICJ can tell Guatemala, you need to leave things as they have been in the Sarstoon River. That has not happened, and we still haven't gotten an agreement, a Sarstoon Protocol as yet. We don't even hear the government talking about it.
The Washington Post is reporting that the government of Guatemala is considering the resettlement of migrants in the Petén Department, which is not too far from the western border of Belize. According to the newspaper, Guatemalan Interior Minister Enrique Degenhardt was in Washington on Friday to finalize his country's asylum cooperation agreement with the United States on safe third countries. According to the plan, flights would be sent to the Flores Mundamaya International Airport, which is a hub for tourists visiting the Mayan site of Tikal. The Post says U.S. officials prefer to launch the program using established routes to the Guatemalan City International Airport, but Degenhardt told the Post that the Petén Airport option will probably be used. Belize has not agreed to become a safe third country, but this arrangement is likely to have repercussions here. Last week, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams met with about 25 registered gun dealers in Belmopan. The meeting focused on proposed measures that would effectively increase gun control. One of those measures is an amendment to the Firearms Act, which would limit the amount of ammunition that a holder of a gun license would be able to purchase for the year. Currently, registered gun holders can purchase over 3,000 rounds a day. The new measure would restrict the number to 200 per year. The proposal is still under review, as clarified by the Ministry of National Security. Opposition leader John Briceño says that another amendment will not fix the problem of crime.
If it were left up to me, I'd ban all guns in this country. I don't own a gun. I don't ever expect or want to own a gun. Everywhere, when you look like Australia, when you look at the UK, where they banned the guns, murders went down dramatically. Now the problem with this government is that, first of all, the UDP ministers have been too liberal in issuing gun licenses. So like almost everybody have gun licenses. And that is now they're seeing that liberal, well, we know what happened, but we don't say it. But by giving out more guns out there, then you see more crime, more murders, because it's more easier to get hold of a gun. And even if you have a licensed gun and then they steal it from you, I mean, there's a lot of guns to go to steal. And that is what in many instances happen. The problem is that there are just too many amendments. Whenever something go wrong, oh, make we do an amendment. They amend it. That they go wrong, oh, make we go back and do another amendment. You know, and just amendment after amendment is the fundamental issue. There are too many guns on the streets of Belize, and we need to get them off the street. It's just amendment after amendment, you know, and so what will stop them from going to buy the bullets in Chetumal? Across the border, you buy bullets, you bring it back.
You're contrabanded.
Exactly. So that by itself is not going to solve the problem.
Preparations are well underway to bring in Garifuna Settlement Day. Today, police said that they have beefed up security for the 19th holiday. There will be increased presence on the highways as well as patrols, particularly in the areas where there will be festivities. ACP Joseph Maivet shares more.
Yes, the police have stepped up their operations, and those include definitely checkpoints in the south as well as other parts of the country. There has been the beefed up presence, especially in the south, by additional officers from different operational units. However, the countrywide operation continues going through the 19th day celebration. And also this time we have been complemented by the police trainees who are currently in the police training academy, who are working alongside senior police officers as they do their on-the-job training during this holiday season.
After the break, fixed prices for butane. John Briceño has a take.
get great deals and your tickets for the chance to win the $10,000 grand prize only at Benny's.
Pennies in 60 seconds.
Late on Friday, the government announced it was instituting fixed prices for liquefied petroleum gas known as LPG. The prices took effect on Saturday. According to the government, the fix is temporary and is critical to keep local operators in the butane business. GOB says that the new prices will prevent predatory pricing by major importers who have engaged in an act of driving prices down well below the maximum ceiling for retail and wholesale of LPG. It is known that Central American importers engage in a price war, lowering prices that cannot be met by the local suppliers. Today, leader of the opposition, John Briceño, gave his perspective, calling on the government to allow free competition.
Every time I think that this government don't do the most stupid thing, they always come with something where even more stupid. A government is there to protect its citizens from price gouging, not from giving away things. If a business person wants to reduce the price of the butane gas, why not? If he or she wants to give it away, why not? That's his business. Now what we need to do is to protect that then they don't gouge the consumer. That if the LPG, the butane costs, say $5 a gallon or a gallon, and then they want to sell it for $10, that is when a government is supposed to step in. But if the person wants to sell it for $3 or $2, who is going to benefit from it? Consumers. That's what competition does. But for them now to actually legislate or to pass a statutory instrument to say you can't sell it cheaper than this and a certain amount, that's, I mean, okay, it's ridiculous. And I think that people should be able to call up their representatives and the UDP them and tell them, what kind of stupid thing would they do? If somebody wants to sell it cheaper to us, so be it.
Also in the crime blotter, a teenager was shot early on Sunday morning in Dangriga. Police say that 19-year-old Alvin Lopez was walking in the Lakeland area when another man took out a gun and shot him. The incident happened sometime just after midnight, just before 12:30 in the morning. One man has been detained for questioning. Here's more from the police.
Dangriga police were called to the Southern Regional Hospital where they observed one Alvin Lopez, 19 years, with apparent gunshot injury to his left instep. He reported that whilst walking home in the Lakeland area of Dangriga, he was approached by a male person where there was a confrontation, and as a result, he was fired upon by the male person, receiving that injury. Police have since conducted an investigation, and one person is in custody pending this investigation.
Sure, were you made aware, or do you know if those two men have some sort of beef, or is there an issue between the two?
We know that they are familiar with each other. That is what the investigation has shown so far. But we do not know of any dispute between them prior to the incident.
When we come back, Taiwan and Belize signed an agreement to strengthen medical imaging services. This morning, Belize and Taiwan signed a project agreement to strengthen the medical imaging services in Belize. The project will benefit 3 hospitals and will see improvement in equipment, the implementation of an information system, as well as human resource trainings. Minister of Health Pablo Marin signed on behalf of the government of Belize, and the ambassador of Taiwan to Belize, Remus Lee Kuo-chin, signed on behalf of the government of the Republic of China, Taiwan. Reporter Andrea Polanco tells us more.
The Ministry of Health and the Taiwanese government are embarking on a project to improve the medical imaging services in Belize. Today, they signed the $2 million agreement that will be implemented in 3 hospitals, including the KHMH.
What we are doing, we're using 2 main regions, which is Orange Walk and here in Belmopan, and having the mother base, or put it like that, in KHMH. This, as you heard the ambassador said, we are using fiber optics from BTL for us to be able to link all images. So whenever there is an ultrasound being done in Orange Walk or here in Belmopan, if a technician is doing it, then a radiologist at KHMH will be seeing the image, and they will be able to tell us exactly what is happening in that image. So that is a big advance that Belize is doing right now. And the main reason, like I mentioned, is that a lot of our patients, they cannot afford to do an ultrasound. When a technician is doing the ultrasound, the doctor will always refer them to a specialist, which is a radiologist, and that will be out of the public sector. So now, as we speak, we're working on that technology, and soon we're supposed to be implementing that.
The project will help to increase access to quality and safe imaging services. The medical imaging equipment will also be digitized in the 3 hospitals, and the partnership will also develop a standardized radiological information system. The Taiwan International Cooperation and Development Fund, Taiwan ICDF, will implement the project.
Medical imaging services in public hospitals of Belize will be standardized and digitalized as well. In the future, medical images, for example, as Minister Marin just mentioned, X-ray or ultrasonic, kind of services for patients in maybe Western, Northern, or here in Belize City or in Belmopan, the different region hospitals could be sent to KHMH in Belize City for medical use through the innovative system provided by this project, saving time and cost of everything for the government and for the patients. I have very strong confidence that the welfare of the patients could be improved dramatically through this project.
2 Belizean doctors are also going to enroll in a 3-year radiology program in Taiwan. Once they complete their certification studies, they will return to work in Belize. The total estimated cost of the project is US $2.15 million. The government of Taiwan and Far Eastern Memorial Hospital will contribute a little over $2 million, and the government of Belize will give $77,000. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
The Ministry of Health's fleet also got a much-needed boost. The 4 ambulances and 2 vehicles will be used to help improve services in the health sector. Minister of Health Pablo Marin tells us where the vehicles will be put to use.
About 3-4 years ago, we had some ambulance being given, and the old ones are already down. Right now, we are sending one to Southern Region. Another one is coming for Southern Region. The next one will be for here in Belmopan, and the next one for Cayo. So it's 4 new ambulances coming into the country at a cost of about $70,000 per ambulance.
And the vehicles?
And the vehicles, there are 2 vehicles. One will be given to Belize, to Orange Walk for HECOPAB, and the next one will be given to NEMC. Those are the group that go and do the maintenance around the country.
Coming up after the break, we'll tell you about the lineup for Garifuna Settlement Day activities in the city. At the Blitz tonight, the grand finale of KTV Latino takes place at 8:30, among a host of other activities. Meanwhile, the annual 19th of November festivities also get underway tonight across the country, with activities being held in every municipality. Here in Belize City, all roads lead to Lirisi Garifuna Duo restaurant, where the celebration of Garifuna Settlement Day has been centralized. Tonight at 9 o'clock, a massive Punta and Paranda concert featuring C. Wills, Asiatic, and Aurelio Martinez kicks off on the big stage, and that goes through the night and into Tuesday morning, where a reenactment of the arrival of the Garinagu to the shores of Belize is scheduled to take place. Adette Alberto Tillett is the proprietor of the famous Garifuna restaurant.
We go till 5 a.m. Once we're done at Lirisi, we do a procession from Lirisi up the street to the pier, where the persons who will actually be participating in the Yurume reenactment will enter the boats and leave from that pier, come out by Belcan. We do another procession from Belcan to St. Martin's Church. We have our Mass, and after that Mass is completed, we then do a procession from St. Martin's back to Lirisi's compound. That's where we're going to be doing the official ceremonies for tomorrow. And then we take a slight break to get everybody ready. And then we start with the first Jankuno contest. Tomorrow, we're actually having about 6 Jankuno contests. And that will take us to the last 2 persons, and we will do a competition between those 2 persons to crown the first ever Mr. Lirisi Jankuno winner.
This all takes place on stage, right?
All take place on the stage. So we have the Jankuno contest. We have, of course, the Hudut eating contest. I've had a lot of requests about persons wanting to enter. And we have live cassava bread making demonstration. We also have demonstrations of the different Garifuna dances throughout the course of the day. C. Wills comes on at around 3:15, himself and his band. And after C. Wills is done, we do the final Jankuno contest. And once we have crowned Mr. Lirisi, we then move on to live drumming, live singing, and end the day off with live drumming, live singing. So it's jam-packed.
Up next, James Adderley has the weekend sporting activities.
Sports Monday is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. I'm James Adderley. Welcome to Sports Monday. We take you back to Thursday night inside the Isidoro Beaton Stadium, where action in Group A of CONCACAF's Nations League saw Belize host French Guyana. We're 4 minutes into the ball game when Dion McCauley mounts this wonderful press, taking on 3 defenders inside the box to finish with a well-placed right foot as Belize goes up 1-0. In second half play, Dion McCauley displaying the left foot strike this time that doubles the national team lead. Belize goes on to defeat French Guyana 2-0. Team Belize on Friday then traveled to Grenada for yesterday's action against the national team of Grenada that would give us a pass into the first round of the 2021 Gold Cup. At the 13th minute, goalkeeper Woodrow West makes the initial save, but the ball goes to the unattended Jamal Charles, who gives Grenada a 1-0 lead. Ian Guignard then comes forward to launch this vicious header that ties the ball game for Belize at 1 apiece. We are in early second half play when Michael Salazar gets past his opponent to give Belize the 2-1 lead. Some 10 minutes later, Jamal Charles is fed in front of an empty goal to tie the ball game at 2 apiece. Now watch Jamal Charles give Grenada the 3-1 victory as he gets past a diving Woodrow West for his 3rd goal. Grenada moves to the top of the standings with 14 points. French Guyana beat St. Kitts 3-1, that's on Sunday, to move into 2nd place with 8 points and are headed to the next round. Belize concludes with 6 points and St. Kitts 5. We were that close to making it to the big time. Meanwhile, we return to the local scene as Eagle FC and Lucky Strike face off in CYDP football inside the MCC grounds. That's on Saturday. 23 minutes in, Welnel Sakiliano centers into the Lucky Strike box. The ball eventually reaches Travis Ely, who gives Eagles FC the 1-0 lead. At the 41st minute of play, this defensive lapse by Eagles FC turns over possession to Lucky Strike. Frederick Garbutt gets the possession and he ties the ball game at 1 each. Eagles FC regains the lead when Carlton Rogers turns provider for Kieran Patnett, who beats the Lucky Strike keeper convincingly to score into an empty net. At the 81st minute, the referee rules that Eagles player Brian Leslie has committed a hand foul inside the box. Nevertheless, Lucky Strike turns to Fede Estevan, who sends the Eagles keeper in the opposite direction to tie the score at 2 apiece for the stalemate. Now here are the results from week 6 in the women amateur tournament. Joel Fury unleashed a 9-0 blowout on Toledo Divas at Belmopan. Guardians used the MCC grounds to crush Santa Elena Strikers 11-0. Gladiators blanked San Pedro Invaders 9-0, while Dangriga Warriors beat Hyper Jewels in a 3-1 finish at the Carl Ramos Stadium. Mariela Morales continues to lead the league. She leads with 15 goals at this point. She's been chased by Katie Jones of Rombera, who has 10. Let's look at the Future Football Club Tournament from Saturday's play inside the Little League Football Tournament. In under 10 play, Belize United blanked Poor and Famous 2-0, while Reality Youths got the win over Caesar Ridge 2-1. At the under 13 level, Belize United shelled Jalov 6-0, while Survivors FC and Future FC settled for a scoreless draw. Finally, the National Primary Schools Volleyball Championship results 2019. Belize Elementary emerged as female champion by getting past San Marcos RC of Cayo 25-19, 25-15. Louisiana Government School of Orange Walk finished 3rd on the male side. Holy Redeemer forced St. Matthew's Anglican Stand Creek into the runner-up spot, beating them 25-13, 25-7. with Champagne Ridge of OW taking the 3rd spot. Hey folks, that's our show for today. We certainly invite you back next week, same time, same place. Before we go though, we'd like to wish you a happy and safe National Garifuna Day. That's it. Ja over all. I'm James Adderley.
Sports Monday was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Belize.
And that's the news. Coming up is the grand finale of KTV Latino. Join us from the Bliss to find out who is this season's champion. And don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Charlie Hutchinson. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, have a happy and safe Garifuna Settlement Day. Good night.